Harvest of Joy Farm is located halfway between Kalamazoo and Grand Rapids in Shelbyville. I spent the better part of my summer here commuting to and working on these lands. I was able to take part in this due to an experiential learning internship funded by the Mellon Grant, and due to the willingness and guidance of Amy Newday, a professor and the head of the Writing Center at Kalamazoo College. She also guides many environmental and sustainable initiatives on campus, like composting and the hoop house. On the farm, I shadowed Amy and her partner John twice a week. I worked all around the farm, asking questions when relevant or curious, and doing the daily tasks Amy and John do. The goal was to learn about organic farming and gardening through the lens of organic farmers, and how to steward healthy and robust plant life in a sustainable and ethical way. On the farm, this is done through fostering nutrient-rich soil and by developing a caretaking relationship with the plants. This involves being aware and observant in the gardens to spot things like dry or overwatered soil, pest damage from insects or animals, and plant diseases forming on leaves, fruits, or roots. On an organic farm, everything starts and ends with the soil. Seeds need a damp and nutrient-rich soil to grow efficiently. But before the seed can be planted, they first need to be harvested, processed, and dried. Sometimes this is a straightforward process, especially with plants like corn and peas, where you can simply strip the seed and plant it after drying it.
They look pretty good.
Other crops like lettuce and amaranth are a little harder to harvest seed from. The seed needs to be either picked or beaten from the plant and then separated from its casing or the chaff that clings to it. Lettuce needs to be picked during flowering time, dried, and separated using seed screens.
You hear it?
Mm-hmm.
You hear him fall on.
No matter the variety of plant, all of these seeds need to be dried and then stored in a cool and dry environment. Before a seed can be produced by a plant, it needs to be pollinated. Pollination is the method by which most every conventional plant reproduces. Plants have several different types of flowers. A perfect flower contains both male and female anatomy, with the stamen being male and the pistil being female. The stamen contains pollen, which contacts the pistil of the flower, fertilizing the flower's ovule, then leading to seed production. Some plants with perfect flowers are self-pollinators, meaning they pollinate themselves, leading to seeds with genetics very similar to the parent plant. However, many perfect flowers are pollinated by bees, butterflies, and other organisms around the farm. This leads to genetic variety. Many plants could not reproduce or couldn't do so nearly as effectively without these organisms moving around pollen. It is important to have a variety of flowering plants around your farm or garden, even ones you wouldn't necessarily harvest. This is in order to feed the pollinators. Monarch butterflies, for example, only feed and hatch their eggs on milkweed. There are plants with imperfect flowers as well. The male and female parts on these plants are separated. A great example of this is corn. Corn has a pollen-holding tassel on top and ears below with silks that receive the pollen. Corn is a special case because every silk protruding from the ear creates a different kernel. It is also wind-pollinated. So in large fields of corn, you have pollen from many different plants fertilizing a single ear, leading to a large amount of genetic variety and a very special crop. Due to this, corn must be planted in large stands with several parallel rows to ensure thorough pollination and genetic diversity. Otherwise, it can suffer from inbreeding depression, bringing out recessive genes and weakening the genetics in successive generations. Here, John is showing me how to clear and set up a new seed bed. Before anything can be planted, we need to remove all the large organic matter from the bed. The larger weeds can be taken and used as carbon and nitrogen for composting. This is important because these excess weeds and grass clippings will tie up nitrogen and other nutrients in the soil, taking it from the seeds. Nitrogen allows plants and animals to produce new growth and reproduce. It is also a large part in making chlorophyll, which plants require to photosynthesize. Carbon is what is left over after a plant has created structure. It is commonly referred to as brown matter, which can be seen from common carbon sources like wood chips, trees, and dried plant stalks. When carbon is put into a compost pile or is present as biomatter decays in place, it creates air pockets, preventing the decomposing waste from becoming oxygen deficient or anaerobic. Even more important, carbon provides energy to active enzymes and decomposers.
Oh, you can stab that one.
The soil in the seed bed was already covered with compost when there were potatoes growing here, so John is adding a sprinkling of several organic fertilizers. This introduces trace amounts of micronutrients and minerals into the soil that will become active over time as they dissolve and degrade. After the fertilizer is applied, we use a 3-pronged cultivator to gently work it into the soil and remove any excess plant matter. As well as a cultivator, we use broad forks to gently agitate and lift the soil to allow aeration. The broad forks lift the soil, allowing air to penetrate, but they do not till it. Tilling too often can break up soil aggregation and prevent the beneficial microorganisms within from forming cultures and mycelial networks. After the soil is prepared, John measures up the bed and uses twine with stakes to accurately dig small 1/4-inch to 1/2-inch deep trenches for the seeds we'll be planting. In this bed, Amy wanted to plant some carrots and mustard greens, while John grabbed some radishes and turnips. We place the seeds about a 1/2-inch apart, 2 or 3 seeds in each space based on how well they're supposed to germinate. After this, we can cover the seeds with soil and firmly pat them down to ensure good soil contact. This also ensures that the seeds won't float back up to the surface. Since this dirt contained potatoes waiting to be harvested, it hasn't been thoroughly watered in a while. John goes over the bed 2 or 3 times with a sprinkler hose, stopping once the water begins to pool and then waiting for it to soak in between waterings. The seed bed will be looked over almost daily now to ensure that the plants are coming along nicely. Looking back on this internship, I know I've gained an even deeper appreciation for living sustainably and ethically. The simplicity of farm living mixed with the endless complexity of the farm ecosystem have taught me a great many lessons about myself and the environment that I won't soon forget.